Hi, it's Braven back at the sculpture studio. And so we've been making clay sculptures, then making rubber molds and casting the sculptures in concrete. And here are some of the examples of this week's batch. This is actually not this week's batch. This is my moon lady, and she's been sitting there for months waiting for me to work on. It's like having a broken down car in the front yard that you're working on. Someday it's going to run again. So I've got a couple of my big moon lady concrete casts just waiting for me to work on them. But what's also waiting for me to work on them are all these concrete casts of things I'm getting ready for the farmers market season, which starts in February around Valentine's Day. And I take these out, I paint these up and lacquer them and polish them and take them out to my farmers market and sell them. So today I've got all these concrete casts, and it's actually my least favorite day of the week. It's grinding day, and all of these have rough edges, rough backs, and little imperfections on the fronts that I have to fix. So I'm going to take angle grinders and a die grinder and just smooth off all, and sandpaper and smooth off all these rusty, I mean not rusty, but sharp edges. And it's dusty, noisy work, and it's no fun, but it's kind of interesting. It might be interesting to watch. So that's what I'm going to do today, starting with this sun and moon pair. It's a wall hanging. It's pretty popular. And I'm just going to, I've already done some rough grinding around the edges, and now I'm going to use a smaller grinder, kind of like a Dremel, and just smooth it off and then sand it, and it'll be pretty self-explanatory. I wear a respirator because it's too dusty. You don't want to breathe the concrete dust. I wear all this protective gear. I wear earmuffs, a P100 respirator, and eyeglasses. It's almost like you might as well have a spacesuit. But if you're doing this like once a month or something, you probably don't need anything. But if you're doing it every single week, three days a week, you don't want to be breathing all that dust and having all the dust go in your eyes and stuff. So anyway, a lot of protective gear. And now I'm signing this. I sign in pencil and then lacquer over it with polyurethane spray lacquer, Rust-Oleum, just because I've found that over the years, that's the most durable way to do it outdoors. I've tried indelible ink pens, and for some reason they fade after about 3 or 4 years, no matter what kind of ink you use. That's been my experience. But graphite just never fades. That's it. Yeah. Here's what I use. Very simple. I've tried all kinds of spray lacquers. I've tried um, especially nautical ones that you buy for 4 times the usual price at boating supply shops, and nothing works better or worse than just plain any polyurethane spray lacquer. There's Krylon. I use Rust-Oleum. There's Varathane, which is good too, but I just use this because I can usually find a 6-pack fairly cheap on Amazon. So I do one light coat and let it dry a little bit so that the next coat won't make the graphite smear or run. And I let this very light coat dry until it's firm. It only takes 30 seconds. And then put on a really heavy layer. When you spray a lot of anything, spray paint or whatever it is, but in this case spray lacquer, it's going to try to drip if you spray too much. So what I do is I put it in front of, I spray too much, more than you're supposed to, but with this stuff it doesn't matter. It's just a thick layer will stick really well and be just as good as 3 or 4 thin layers, so it saves time. So I spray on a real thick layer, and then before it has a chance to drip, I go like this and just use gravity to keep it from dripping, keep it from being in any still state for more than 1 second. So I go like this for about only 15 seconds or so, and then it's tacky and hard enough that it won't drip, and I can go put it out to dry. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Turn on the fan. Well, if I turn the fan on now, all the spray lacquer is going to fly away. So I don't turn on the fan. Use gloves. There. That's an obscenely thick layer, and then just go like this. Yeah, that's about it. And this is matte or matte or flat lacquer is the best spray lacquer because it becomes almost invisible. I never use glossy lacquer because it gives it an artificial gloppy plasticky look that's not just not very good. So that's it, flat lacquer. So I've got that piece done, and then I have to do that to about 20 sculptures today. This is another one that I've done the rough grinding on. Now I just have to sand it and sign it. Now, every cast has little imperfections. I don't know if you can see that, but look in the corner of this guy's eye. You can see a little nodule of concrete. That comes from a little bubble that formed in the cast, in the mold, in the rubber mold when I made it. And it'll just be a little imperfection in every time I cast this. I'll have to fix it, but that's just easily enough done. Every mold has little imperfections like that. And then when they start to get, when the mold starts to get wear and tear over the years, you get more and more of those little seams and nodules and imperfections, and you just have to make a new mold after a while. But I have some molds that I've been using for 10 years and probably several hundred casts that are still perfectly usable. This is embarrassing. There, got it. I always check the nose. One way to avoid that would be to use a vacuum chamber or a pressure chamber when mixing the silicone rubber to make the mold, but I don't know. I like to use minimal equipment, so I hesitate to buy extra machines to clutter up the house with. That's one reason I don't do woodworking anymore, is because I became so obsessed with all the equipment and machines and jigs and tools that I never did any woodworking. I just went out shopping for tools all the time. Or I was sharpening and fixing and repairing and arranging all my tools so much, and equipment and machines, that I never did any actual creative woodworking. So I like sculpture because it's so simple. If you want to make a clay sculpture, all you really need is clay and your hands, maybe a popsicle stick or a paintbrush if you want to be fancy, but you don't need a lot of tools. You can get it as fancy, as complicated as you want, but you don't need to. This is just a section of a belt grinder belt. It's really stiff, coarse, strong sandpaper. And I found that for concrete, it lasts longer than most other types of sandpaper. That's why I like to use it. Its only drawback, it can be an advantage depending on how you want to use it as a tool, but it's very stiff and it's not flexible. So I use other sandpaper for like going around and making smooth contours, but for 90% of sanding, this kind of belt chopped up with scissors is really the best for concrete. Okay, that's ready to sign. This is not a pen. This is actually a really handy tool. It's a carbide tipped point, and I've been using it for about 10 years. It's just absolutely fantastic. It never dulls. It's carbide steel. It looks like a pen or a mechanical pencil, but it's just a carbide steel tool, and it's really good for chipping away at little imperfections in the concrete and drawing. You can draw lines with it. I could probably sign these things with it. It's as good as a diamond tip tool, carbide steel. This is a pencil, which is out of lead. Oh, here's another. There. That may look a little glossy right now because it's still wet, but when it dries, it's flat lacquer. So it really does become almost invisible. I really like the way it disappears, but it also protects the concrete over the years. It keeps water from getting into it and expanding. It also has some UV protection. So when you lacquer over watercolor paints, it keeps them light fast. Okay, this one needs some work on the front, a little bit. But first, I've done the rough grinding with a die grinder around the edges. And today I just need to smooth off the back and sign it before I start working on the front. This won't hurt a bit. Can you hear that crow? This is an outdoor studio, so there are a lot of noises that happen. Sometimes squirrels run around on the roof. Comes a ruckus. January 20. 26. There, now sign my name. Light layer. Let it dry. Now the thick layer won't drip, or it won't cause the graphite to run. It will drip if it gets a chance, so we don't give it a chance like this. There's another.
rigid sandpaper, and this is softer sandpaper with cloth on the back. What it's good for is this. January. Twenty. 26. There.
season next. There. Ready for lacquer. All right, so that's how I smooth off and sand the back of these sculptures. Now I still have to do the front. And this one won't require much work at all on the front, but one like this, after I do all that on the back, I still have to go into the front and put plaster, like plaster of Paris filler into little holes like this and like that. It just takes a second, but when you have to do it on 20 or 30 sculptures, it takes time. So that's going to be it for today's video. And let's just take a look around the studio once again before I sign off. And feel free to ask anything in the chat if you want to. These are all my concrete sculptures. And this is where I put all of the cast concrete sculptures that I still have to work on. See all those bananas? I have to smooth off all of those bananas today and sign them and do all that stuff. And here's just more stuff waiting to be worked on. But it's fun to have all this manual work to do. It's better than having a computer screen full of files that you have to process all day long. These are all sculptures that I'm going to paint, lacquer, and polish and sell at my farmer's market stall. Hopefully I'll sell them there, or at least display them. Starting around, it's too cold now to stand out there all day long, and there are too many customers yet, but around Valentine's Day things start to pick up. So I'm preparing all these sculptures for Valentine's Day and thereafter. All through the summer it gets pretty busy. So that's my sculpture studio, and I'm going to check and see if there are any last minute questions before I sign off. So let me just take a look here. Hello, how's it going? Okay, so I'll be back tomorrow, and check out my YouTube channel, and my Etsy shop is in the pinned note there, so you can check that out too. You can see all my, you don't have to buy anything there if you don't feel like it, but it's my only real online gallery where you can see all my finished work. So go check out my Etsy shop if you feel like it. And thanks a lot. Bye-bye.